I know who you are.
What you said your name was?
What the fuck are you thinking?
Carrying a concealed weapon? What about my sister?
She walked. We told him the gun was yours.
The fuck are you
Shaving. Since now.
You ain't got no hair.
Hey, you fucking won't back up!
The fuck you think, Rick, huh?
I know the fuck I'm talking about. Fuck, that's what I think.
Get off of him!
Guilty.
It's like I'm dead in here.
The story begins in 1984 at a gun show in Toledo, Ohio. A teenager named Rick Wershe Jr. walks between the aisles, studying a row of AK-47 rifles. He notices something off. The dealer claims they're Russian, but Rick points out the markings that prove they're Egyptian. He calls over his father, Richard Wershe Sr., who confirms the truth. Together, they corner the dealer. If they expose him, he'll lose his license. The man gives in, handing them the guns at a steep discount. Driving back to Detroit, Richard tells his son they're lions living among sheep. He dreams of opening a video rental store, but for now, he hustles with small-time arms deals. Rick, only 15, listens quietly. When they arrive home, they find a car in the driveway. Richard instantly recognizes it as Ty's. Inside, they catch Dawn, Rick's older sister, making out with her boyfriend. Furious, Richard waves one of the rifles and kicks Ty out. Dawn storms after him in her underwear, screaming. Their grandparents arrive just in time to witness the chaos. Later that night, Richard shows Rick how he modifies silencers for the rifles. He explains the concept of upselling, convincing buyers to pay more for attachments. Rick takes this lesson to the streets. Soon he's selling guns with silencers to local gang members. He makes a big profit and earns respect from Johnny Curry, a well-connected gang leader. Rick begins spending time with Johnny's crew, joining their parties at the roller rink, where gangsters and corrupt cops mix freely. He's just a teenager, but already stepping into a dangerous world. The next morning, Dawn wakes Rick. She's leaving. He guesses she's going with Ty and tries to stop her. She hands him a number to keep in touch and begs him not to tell their dad. But Richard sees her drive away from the window, powerless to stop it. Not long after, FBI agents show up at the Wershe house. They know Richard has been making illegal silencers and warn they'll catch him eventually. They ask Rick about his ties to gang members, but he stays quiet. Later that day, Rick goes suit shopping with Curry's men for Johnny's upcoming wedding to the mayor's niece. Curry talks about respect and even tells Rick to try on a tuxedo, a subtle invitation to the wedding. At the event, Rick meets Kathy, Johnny's bride, and Art Derrick, a Miami drug kingpin. He's surrounded by people far older, richer, and more dangerous than himself. On the ride back, Rick and his friends spot girls from their school. Among them is Brenda Moore, Rick's crush. He calls out, and the girls join them at a drive-in theater. Under the stars, Rick and Brenda share their first kiss. But that night, as Rick heads home, a car pulls up beside him. Inside are the same FBI agents, Alexandra and Frank, and a narcotics cop. They tell him one of the rifles he sold was used in a murder. They can arrest his father unless Rick cooperates. Backed into a corner, Rick agrees. His task is simple: buy drugs from local dealers, then bring them back as evidence. He completes the job, handing over the drugs. Soon the agents give him an even bigger challenge: sell a brick of cocaine to blend in better with the gang. They promise he can keep whatever money he makes. Rick takes the risk, sells the drugs, and pockets $4,000. It's the start of a double life he cannot control. But what happens next changes everything. Curry soon learns that Rick has been selling cocaine on the side. Instead of cutting him off, he issues a warning. If Rick wants to stay in the game, he has to be honest and give Curry his share. Rick agrees, and just like that, he's no longer just an errand boy. He's officially part of the operation. Months pass. Rick is living fast with the crew, traveling to parties, enjoying money, and feeling the respect of men twice his age. Eventually, Curry brings them all to Las Vegas for a championship boxing match. One of Curry's contacts, Leon, promised them ringside seats. But when they arrive, the tickets are gone, handed to a rival gang leader. Humiliated, they're forced to watch from the sidelines. Later that night, at a party, the rival flaunts his victory. Enraged, Curry smashes a champagne bottle over his head, beating him to death in front of everyone. Back in Detroit, Curry's men move on Leon for revenge. But Leon has already fled. The hitmen open fire on his house anyway, spraying bullets into the walls. Inside, a young boy, Leon's nephew, is struck and killed. The death of a child sends shockwaves through the city. Police crack down, searching every house for illegal rifles. The gang scrambles to hide weapons, and even Richard quietly gets rid of his stash. Curry tells his men they must be cautious. No mistakes, no loose ends, but the danger is closing in. One evening, Rick's father mentions he got a goldfish as a gift from a customer. Hours later, Rick is at home when his friend Nug comes by. He greets him casually, grabs a soda from the kitchen, and when he turns back, Nug shoots him point blank in the stomach. Rick collapses as Nug flees. Rushed to the hospital, Rick barely survives after a long surgery. The FBI registers him under a false name to protect him from further attacks. When he finally wakes, agents tell him his cooperation led to Curry's downfall. Most of the crew is arrested. Released from the hospital, Rick goes back home with his father. In the car, they talk again about the video store dream, but Rick doubts they'll ever make it. Their argument nearly causes a crash. Shaken, Richard swears they'll be fine if they stay out of trouble, but Rick is already thinking ahead. He wants back into the drug trade. He tells his father it's the only way they'll ever escape poverty. At first, Richard resists, but eventually he gives in. Rick returns to the streets. This time, he's not just working for someone else. He's running his own business, and the money pours in fast. What follows shocks everyone around him. Rick's drug business grows quickly. With stacks of cash coming in, he decides it's time to fix what's broken at home. One night, Rick and his father drive to a rundown house filled with addicts. Inside, they find Dawn, strung out and half-conscious. Rick pulls her up, dragging her to the car despite her screams. Back home, they lock her in her room. For days, she pounds on the door, begging to be let out. The withdrawals are brutal, but eventually she stabilizes. Slowly, Dawn begins to recover. Meanwhile, Rick keeps making money, enough to finally make his father's dream a reality. Richard opens a video rental store, proud to see their long-talked dream standing on the street corner. For a moment, the family feels like it's moving forward. But life doesn't slow down. One morning, a young boy knocks on Rick's door. He tells Rick that Brenda, his school crush, has just had a baby and the child is his. Shocked, Rick and Richard rush over. They meet the newborn, Keisha, and take turns holding her. Rick is only 16, but he's already a father. Not long after, Rick crosses paths with Kathy Curry, Johnny's wife. With Johnny behind bars, Kathy is alone. She tells Rick that if her husband had trusted the right people, he wouldn't be in prison. Their conversation turns into something more. That night, Rick and Kathy become intimate, blurring the line between loyalty and betrayal. But while Rick's personal life becomes tangled, his public one collapses. The FBI storms his house. Agents drag Rick and Richard into custody. Rick is charged with possession of more than 8 grams of cocaine, enough for a mandatory life sentence. At just 17, he faces the possibility of never leaving prison. The agents offer him a deal, one last job as an informant. If he delivers on a major bust, maybe they can help reduce his sentence. Desperate, Rick agrees. With Kathy's help, he sets up a huge shipment. The FBI swoops in, arresting everyone at the scene. But instead of protecting Rick, they expose him. His name is broadcast on television as the informant behind the sting. Overnight, he becomes a marked man. At trial, the jury finds him guilty. The judge gives him the harshest penalty possible, life in prison without parole. His father confronts the FBI agents who once promised to help. Coldly, they tell him it's over. Rick is only a teenager, but his life on the outside has already ended. Unaware of the darkness still ahead, his family prepares to face the years without him. A year passes. Behind bars, Rick adjusts to prison life while his family struggles to keep hope alive. One day, Dawn and Richard bring little Keisha for a visit. Rick holds his daughter tightly, asking Dawn to show her his picture every night so she won't forget him. For a moment, he allows himself to believe he can still be part of her life, even from a distance. Later, Richard sits with his son in the visiting room. He talks about rumors that the mandatory life sentences for drug crimes might be overturned. But Rick shakes his head. He's only 17, yet already certain that his life is finished. Tears fill Richard's eyes as he apologizes. He wanted to give his son an easier life, but instead he led him into this. Rick is led back to his cell, while his father, sister, and daughter walk out of the prison gates. Years go by. Rick remains locked away, his story fading from headlines, but not from the lives he left behind. His father passes away in 2014. His daughter grows up, eventually marrying and starting a family of her own. Finally, after more than 30 years, the longest sentence ever served by a nonviolent offender in Michigan. Rick Wershe Jr. is released on parole in 2017. The film closes with a voice recording of the real Rick. He reflects on his decades in prison, saying most people never believed he should have been there in the first place. Yet now, finally free, he feels hopeful, but the scars remain. A boy who entered the drug world at 15 left prison as a man in his late 40s, carrying a lifetime lost. The story of white boy Rick is over, but its shadow lingers, a reminder of a system that gave no second chances.